Hell, one of the most widely talked about places that very few people have been able to go and then later come back to talk about. Here are the top 5 real people who went to hell and then lived to tell about it. Number 5 on this list is Howard Storm. Storm was a strict atheist before his near-death experience that changed pretty immediately afterwards. In 1985, he took a group of students, as he was a teacher, on a school trip to Europe. During the trip, he had some serious and sudden abdominal pain and had to go to the hospital. It was determined that surgery was required to save his life. He truly believed as he was lying there waiting for surgery that he was going to die. That's how bad the pain was. As he was waiting, he passed out, and that's when he saw what he thinks was hell. Storm reports the following subconscious experience. He opened his eyes and found himself standing outside of his body, looking down at the hospital bed with his wife crying beside him. He was without pain and hypersensitive. His wife could not see or hear him. He was then drawn by voices calling his name outside the hospital room, and he followed them, believing they were taking him to a doctor. He describes pale humanoid creatures that urged him down the hallway, saying that they had been waiting for him. The creatures became increasingly hostile, and when he refused to continue following them, they began to attack him. He then heard a voice saying, "Pray to God," and so he recited fragments of Bible verses and the Pledge of Allegiance. With the mention of the word God, the creatures would retract, and eventually he was alone again. Kinda sounds like he went to the other side or something. A world that's like our world, but it's twisted and not the same. I really hope that what he saw isn't hell, cause that would suck if that's actually what it's like. Number 4 on this list is Ian McCormack. Ian's experience with hell was truly electrifying. That's a pun, actually, but I guess you don't really get that yet because I haven't told you how he got to hell. Well, Answers for Everyone says, Ian McCormack's near-death experience in hell began with an encounter with a deadly jellyfish. So, electrifying. Whatever. Upon arriving at the hospital, Ian was pronounced dead as the hospital failed to find a pulse. He describes his brief encounter with hell as more than physical darkness. There was something else there. I could feel a cold, eerie feeling as though something or someone was looking at me. Ian McCormack prayed in desperation and he was saved from the darkness by a bright light. He believes that God allowed him to decide whether he would return to Earth or enter heaven. Ian wished to return to Earth to share his story with those who did not know God. In a truly miraculous healing, Ian left the hospital the day following his tragic accident. He proceeded to read the entire Bible in the 6 weeks following this experience. I wonder who that someone was that was looking at him. Was it the devil? Was it God? Was it a creature that resides in hell that we just don't even know about yet? That's something to consider that I think we often overlook. A lot of people just kind of assume that we know everything that there is to know about heaven and hell, but we have so few first-hand encounters and they're all pretty foggy. Like, what if there is a creature or a demon or an entity down there that we haven't even discovered yet? I would wager a bet that that's honestly pretty likely. Like, think about the fact that most of us consider hell to be a fiery and burning hot place with the overwhelming smell of sulfur. That's not at all what Ian saw. Ian saw a black, empty nothingness. Maybe even scarier than what we currently think hell is. I can't imagine just floating in the dark all the time, constantly. Hopefully this isn't the reality of what it is. Or, honestly, even better than that, hopefully we all just don't go to hell in the first place. Number 3 on this list is Reverend Kenneth Hagin. The Reverend experienced hell at one of the youngest ages out of everybody, kind of setting the table for his whole life. Answers for Everyone says, born and raised in a Christian family, Reverend Kenneth Hagin experienced hell at the age of 15 in a near-death experience resulting from a chronic heart condition. In his book titled I Believe in Visions, Reverend Hagin shares his experience with hell. Unlike Bill Wiese, Kenneth Hagin's experience began when his heart ceased to beat. He recalls the feeling of numbness spreading throughout his body. In his book, he recounts his experiences as follows. I began to descend down into a pit, like you'd go down into a well, cavern, or cave. And I continued to descend. I went down feet first. I could look up and see the lights of the earth. They finally faded away. Darkness encompassed me round about darkness that is blacker than any night man has ever seen. Reverend Hagin shares many descriptions of hell similar to others, including intense darkness, unbearable heat, strange creatures, and great flames of fire. Fortunately for Kenneth, his doctors were able to save him from seemingly inevitable death. He continued to serve God in his adult years, pastoring Rhema Bible Church and founding Kenneth Hagin Ministries. Yeah, I mean, if that happened to me at the age of 15, then I'd probably serve God for the rest of my life as well. Darkness, heat, demons, fire. This sucks, dude. I keep waiting for somebody to visit hell and be like, nah guys, don't worry, it's all good. We got pools and pina coladas and flowers and stuff. I might have to keep waiting though, because everybody on this list doesn't seem like they want to tell me that. Number 2 on this list is Mathew Botsford. Mathew is a unique case when it comes to visiting hell, and you'll understand what I mean in a second. Answers for Everybody says, unlike the other people we mentioned, Mathew Botsford was far from Christianity when he had his near-death experience in hell. After Mathew was shot in the head, doctors decided to put him in a medically induced coma to save his life. This coma lasted 27 days. Mathew describes his experience immediately following being shot in the following way: utter blackness, incredible fear. I went to a place that I believe was hell. It was void of anything good, beyond anything any words could describe. In his experience, he remembers terrifying creatures, torment, and profound isolation. While it was not immediate, Mathew eventually recovered and gave his life over to God. Wow, as if 27 days in a coma wasn't bad enough, but you also have to spend some of that time in hell as well. Incredible fear is what he says. I wonder if it was induced by someone or something, or if that was just the sensation that he got at all times. Hell seems like the type of place that would just elicit that type of sensation from people, even if nothing bad was coming after you. And finally, number 1 on this list is Bill Wiese. Bill's story might be the most famous out of all of them when it comes to visiting hell. Answers for Everyone says, on a November morning in 1998, Bill Wiese, author of 23 Minutes in Hell, had an experience that would forever alter the course of his life. In an event that he relates to a vision, Bill Wiese, a devout Christian, describes his experience as being plunged into hell. In his book 23 Minutes in Hell, Bill describes many horrifying sights, smells, and sounds. After what felt like falling down a long tunnel, Bill found himself in a dark, dirty prison. Many people wonder if hell is hot or cold. He shares that he experienced an intense heat that seemed too hot for life to even survive. While in this foul prison-like cell, Bill realized 2 large creatures shared the cell with him. During his time in hell, which lasted exactly 23 minutes, Bill experienced a great number of horrors, including torture, intense darkness, a raging pit of fire, screaming, foul odors, and varying levels of torment. Suddenly, Bill recalls seeing a bright light and felt himself rising out of the tunnel though, which he had previously descended. Following his vision, Bill knew his life calling was to share his experience with the world. After sharing his experience with anyone who would listen, he recorded the entire saga in his first book, 23 Minutes in Hell. 23 minutes, dude, in literal hell. That would actually suck. You can check it out by reading his story if you want. I warn you though, it is a harrowing tale, and if you're already scared of hell, then this will just push that even further. But there you have it, guys. That is our list of the top 5 real people who went to hell and lived to tell about it. Please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this list and some other crazy stories that you guys know about people who went to hell and then lived to tell their story. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Nicholas Playlog, and I'll catch you next time.